everyone, it's Belinda, and it's
Hi guys.
Alex. Welcome back to Diversify the Verse. We are going to be talking about our June book, which was At the Edge of the Universe by Shaun David Hutchinson. And I'm really excited to talk about this. I just finished this book earlier this week because I kind of was in a reading slump and I was procrastinating it. But I really enjoyed it. And Alex, do you want to say some stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I read his first book, We Are the Ants, and I loved it so much. I don't know, like, his books have such simple plots. Don't you notice? Like, if you read the synopsis, it's pretty simple, self-explanatory story, but it has such a bigger meaning. That's why I love reading his books. So I was so excited that we finally picked something, like, that we actually read something that I recommended, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. So we picked this book in honor of Pride Month, which was June. I mean, we're doing the live show in July now, but it was for our June read. And I guess the basic premise is there's this guy named Ozzie, and one day his boyfriend mysteriously disappears, and everyone doesn't believe that he existed. Like, everyone's convinced that like his boyfriend doesn't really exist, and Ozzie is trying to figure out what happened and find his boyfriend, and that's kind of the basic premise of it. Yeah, and that's kind of, I saw it at Half Price Books one day, and I saw it on Alex's Instagram story that she picked this up, and I'm like, ooh, this looks really interesting. So I am really happy that we did this for this book because it's a less popular book, so I think it's great that we're getting more people to read it, and I think it's definitely a book that people should pick up.
Yeah, also, if you're picking this up, and you haven't read it yet, so I guess you're just staying here for the non-spoiler, there are trigger warnings for self-harm, mental illness, and what else? Am I missing anything? What?
Abuse. There's
Abuse,
some child abuse that goes on.
And sexual assault. Sexual assault.
Sexual assault happens too. And which we're sorry about, like, not being the greatest at saying trigger warnings before we start the books, because these books we haven't really read. A lot of the books, yeah, we haven't read before we start, like before we pick it, and sometimes it's hard to catch them in reviews because not everyone mentions them. So sorry about that. Just going forward, we'll try to be better about that. But you know, if you haven't read the book, if you didn't research a lot about it, you know, you can't catch everything. So but our next book, there aren't really any trigger warnings for that because I've already read it, so I can say that. Do you want to just talk about our non-spoilery thoughts?
Oh yeah, I mean, so I don't know, I like the premise of this. No, actually, no, that's actually not true. I like the premise of We're the Ants. If you read, that was his previous book, a lot more than this one, because We're the Ants is very similar in ways to this book. Wait, Belinda, did you read We're the Ants?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. So, if you read his books, so far these two books, these are the only ones, Shaun David Hutchinson, that I read. But they have like similar like morals or like themes. But I like the plot of We're the Ants more. But then I really loved this book more, and I'll go into that later. But first impressions was I like his characters. Like, I really liked his characters, right? Like, that was just like the defining piece of the book for me. The plot was, it was weird. It's very weird. I would describe this to anyone as a magical realism, even though it's like, I don't really know what categorizes magical realism. It just feels like it. But yeah.
I don't know. My first impression, the first chapter starts off with a really big bang, and you're just like, what the heck just happened? Because I was like stuck after the first chapter. I read the first chapter and then I like put it down for a while. But then I was like, what the heck happened? My brother read it before me. He actually read it this month, so it was kind of cool. I got to talk to him about what was going on. But I was like, what the heck just happened? And yeah, I don't know. I would kind of say it starts off a little slow. I didn't really get into it until maybe like 200 pages in, which is okay. I mean, I don't really, for me, the pacing of a book, it doesn't matter too much. Like, as long as it's a good book, the writing is great and the characters are great. I really do like the characters and I like the representation of having our main characters be like our main character Ozzie be gay, and then also his best friend Lua is gender fluid. And I've never read a book with a character like that, and yeah, I thought that was really cool. So yeah, and it took me a while to get into it, but I really liked it in the end. Alex, do you have anything else to say? Is Alex frozen? Alex might be frozen, so I guess I'll just keep talking. What else about this book? I guess it took me a while to get a sense of where this book is set place, because I guess like what Alex was saying, it kind of borders on magical realism and contemporary, like realistic, I guess. Oh, Alex is like messaging me about this being frozen. So sorry about that. Let me just kind of reply to her back. Yeah, and I don't know. Took me a while to get into it, I guess. I've said that already. What else? Alex says she's coming back. Just ramble while she's gone. Yeah, and I don't know. One thing I like about Shaun David Hutchinson's writing is that it's really honest and really genuine, and it feels real. Like he doesn't shy away from maybe other things in like young adult literature that people will shy away from. And I really liked that aspect of it, and he has some really great metaphors. Like I really love metaphors, and he has some really, yeah. I'm trying to get Alex back. I'm sorry, I'm just like rambling right now. Hopefully she comes back soon. What else did I really like about this book? The cover. The cover is beautiful. And the spine is beautiful. And naked, it looks pretty beautiful. I mean, it's all white, and it's got that, which I think looks pretty cool. Yeah, and I also found it signed, which is why I like picked it up too, because it was signed. What else? It was cool. I don't know. Another part of the plot is that the universe is shrinking. So, which was a really interesting, I guess, plot line to follow and see how the universe is shrinking. And like Ozzie would reference the stars at one point when the universe is like gone too small that the stars no longer exist, and people would be like, I'm like, whoa. Yeah, where is Alex? I don't want to announce the next book without her. Where is she? Sorry about this. I don't know what happened. Invite her again. Okay. I invited her again. What else? I haven't read We Are the Ants yet, but I really do want to pick it up after this book. And yeah, I don't know. This book, I mean, I liked it. I've been saying how much I like it. But I didn't really love this book, and maybe it's because it took me so long to read. It took me like 2 weeks to read. And normally books take me like 2 days to read. So whenever a book takes me longer, I don't know. I feel like I like books not better if I read it and binge read it. Like if I read it in a day or is Alex back? She may be back, so this is good because I'm just rambling. One thing I did not expect about this book is that it wasn't really what I expected, I guess. I didn't know it was going to be kind of a sad book, but I do like sad books. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know it was actually going to be like that sad. It was kind of, I mean, it wasn't that sad. It's just a little bittersweet. Okay, Alex is back.
Oh my god. I hate this. Okay, sorry. My internet turned off. Okay, so did you go into question 1 already?
No, I haven't even announced the book. I've just been rambling about things I like.
Okay.
Well, do you have anything else you want to say before we go into spoilery section, before we announce the book?
I don't know. I feel like some people are hesitant to pick up his books. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the plot. I just feel like I don't hear a lot about these books, which is pretty strange because they're like so
Yeah.
good compared to most of the YA stuff that I read, like hard-hitting stuff, like stuff that actually makes you think. Like these books are like nothing in comparison. So I'm so glad that we're reading this. All the books that we usually read are books that are pretty underhyped. Well, that's not the case with our next book, but yeah, I just feel like they should be pushed out more. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it also has to do with like the publisher. Like, I really did not hear much about this book. I mean, I heard a lot about We Are the Ants because it had such a pretty cover, but I haven't really heard much about this book. I happened to read a book with LGBT characters. This one, I feel like it really gives an honest portrayal of it, and the book doesn't deal with the whole aspect of being LGBT. It's just, they're normal people. They're going through their normalish lives because, how normal can your life be when your boyfriend just disappeared and the universe is shrinking? But I feel like it really gives, like an honest, normal life, I guess, as a teenager.
yeah. This also deals with so many
What
just.
we're talking about? Does that make sense?
Wait, what? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, but also like this book deals with such like prime issues, like in either in family, in relationships, in it was just very relatable. Like it's things you see every day or things that actual people go through, nothing like unrealistic. And I don't know what he kind of fleshed out the problem so well and explained it very well and kind of created a story on it. That's why I really love his writing mostly. But okay. So first question.
Wait, we gotta announce our book.
Oh shoot, yeah.
Alex is just too excited to discuss with all you. She doesn't want to announce her book. Do you want to announce it? Should I announce it?
Sure, I got you. So our next book for next month is one that already came out, and we were so excited, but it was Pride Month last month, so we really wanted to do something that was LGBTQ+. So next month for Diversify the Verse, we are reading When Dimple Met Richie by Sanya Menon, I think. That's how you say it?
Like, we're not
Yeah.
She fantastic. I've had, some little short conversations with her, and I think the author is just fantastic. And I read this book last month, hence all the sticky notes. So, yeah, we kind of picked this book one because there's so much hype about it, and it's super cute. It's a really cute story. I read it, and I really enjoyed it. I love the characters. I guess we should say what it's about. It's about these two kids after high school. They're about to go to college. It's the summer before. And the boy is named Dimple and the girl is named Rishi. And never mind, the girl is named Dimple, the boy is named Rishi. I'm sorry. They're their parents put them in an arranged marriage, but it's like an arranged marriage. It's not really like they have to get married. It's kind of more like a suggested. And Dimple doesn't know about it going into the book, and Rishi does. And they both go to a coding camp for the summer and kind of meet there and get to know each other. And it was just really cute, and I love how you get to see, San Francisco, because that's where it takes place, and, a girl who codes. I am a girl who codes, so I definitely loved reading about that, and, I'm really excited that we're reading this for Diversify the Verse and to discuss it.
Yeah, what I also like, look at the back cover. The back cover is so pretty. I love that. It's so cute.
It's a scene taken, directly from the book, so.
Oh, yeah, I heard.
When you get to it, you'll know. It's cute. Not really. As cute as throwing coffee at the guy can be. But yeah.
I'm super excited about this too. I've never read a book with that surrounds arranged marriages, and this is also by the way, if you're participating in Diversity Bingo 2017, that's a month-long diversity bingo challenge where you there's a bunch of challenges and stuff, and you can try to get a bingo. That is actually one of the what's it called? What do you call it? squares, I guess, for the bingo sheet. So if you're interested, I guess we'll leave it in the link below later. But that's also like a really great way to read with us and get that square checked off. So
yeah. And I also really loved how it explores like Indian culture, and Rishi is pretty traditional and Dimple is a little bit more rebellious, and it's just like really interesting to see that because for me as a daughter of immigrants, it's kind of that experience of being like a first generation Asian American. So I found that just really relatable and just, yeah. So I'm really excited to talk about this with everyone. Yeah. Do you have anything else to say, Alex?
I'm trying to take an Instagram pic.
Okay. So are you good?
Yep. Okay.
Oh yeah, wait, we gotta talk about our recs. So this month our theme is just gonna be like summer diverse reads, contemporaries, and yeah, it's gonna be pretty broad. But I'm also going on vacation like next Tuesday, and I'll be gone for a month. So I don't know how much I'll be posting, but Alex is the best, and I know she will give you guys a bunch of recs.
Oh yeah, so like we didn't want to because this book is pretty general and it is a contemporary, like fluffy contemporary, we wanted to choose just a bunch of contemporary diverse books because I feel like, well, there are like an oversaturated amount of like diverse contemporary. Like I feel like if anything, I love diverse sci-fi or fantasy, but there are some like really good underrated contemporary diverse books that we want to share. So that's why we picked that for our recs.
Yeah. And it's summer. I love reading contemporaries in the summer, so just some great reading ideas for everyone. Yeah, so let's, I guess, get started on the discussion. What's our first question? I'll ask the first question. First question was, what are your first impressions of the book? Oh, wait. Before we go on, we're going to be launching into spoilery stuff, so proceed at your caution. Like, if you haven't read this book, know that you probably get spoiled. And we already talked about our first impressions of the book earlier. So second question, what is the significance of the chapter titles?
Oh, wait, Belinda. Oh my God. I'm looking at our posts. Sorry to interrupt. I'm looking at our posts and I did put in trigger warnings, so we're fine. I put it in, yeah.
Put them all in.
Yeah, I know. I didn't put them all in, but I put them in as I was reading. So for that first discussion question, when I only read up to that part, and that's why I put it in. But yeah, we're definitely going to do better on that. It's just that I had no idea that this was going to have,
It's hard when you haven't read the book, and this book is not as popular. So yeah, we're sorry about that. We'll try to do better.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, you want to answer first since you asked it?
So, I guess my brother kind of gave me a hint to what it is because he was like, what are AUs? And I'm like, I had to look it up, astronomical units. And I guess, it's the universe shrinking, which I think was a really cool way to do chapter headings, and especially when it gets really close to the bottom where it's like, there's only 3 miles left. I'm like, what's going to happen in the next 50 pages? There's only 3 miles left of the universe. Yeah, but I thought that was really cool. Did you want to say anything about it?
Yeah, so in the beginning, like, I was actually super confused because I thought they actually stood for stuff that I had to remember. Like, see, he's so, like, Shaun David Hutchinson is a genius. I don't know how he thinks of this stuff, but he does it. And then my favorite especially is the last chapter. It says infinity and then some. And I like that because, well, through this whole entire book, Ozzie thinks the universe is shrinking, but when you get to the end, he realizes that it's not shrinking, and there is this infinite, world, I guess, surrounding him, like, full of possibilities. It has to do with the theme mostly, but, like, it's pretty self-explanatory that it's him, like, it's his symbolic way of thinking that the universe is shrinking in chapter title form. So I think that was really cool.
Yeah, and I guess, it a benchmark for where the story is going, I guess, with like how the universe is shrinking. And I feel like it gets more intense when you start seeing the numbers really count down, when you're like light years, and then no longer light years, we're in astronomical units, and then we're in kilometers, and then we're in like,
we're in
gone.
feet. We're in feet.
We're in feet. Do we even get to feet?
Yeah, they get to feet actually.
Oh, we do?
I know, I was so surprised. It was so cool. I thought it was like really, I can't believe you even looked up AU. I'm like, that's like, damn.
I think I've maybe read too much fan fiction because AU also means alternate universe.
I understand that. Yeah, that makes sense. But I definitely, like, I didn't, like, actively seek out what these were. I just kind of, like, assumed, like, common sense.
Oh, yeah. Well, my brother just randomly asked me because he was reading it first, and I was like, this random question. Yeah, and I guess maybe if I knew the whole, it starts, and that, makes sense as a measure of distance. And then astronomical units. I guess you don't hear about astronomical units as much in your average daily life.
I don't.
Yeah.
Wait, let me get this other book.
Yeah. And I guess, it is really cool, kind of, he thinks the world is shrinking, and that whole thing with, like, infinity, I guess, like, we were talking about possibilities. I didn't really think about that, and how, I guess a big theme of this is, like, possibilities and how you still have the power to change the way your life goes, because I guess after Tommy disappears, Tommy is the boyfriend, Ozzie kind of limits himself to staying in Cloud Lake. So I guess, opening it up to infinity is really big, because now he's like into the world and, do his own thing instead of waiting in Cloud Lake for Tommy to come back.
Yeah, that was like a huge theme. I thought, like, okay, in We Are the Ants, there is this quote. Oh, hold on. I'm trying. Let me see if I can find it. Hopefully, I can. It's like, we live in the future, like something the past. Damn it. Okay, wait. Just. So yeah, like his books. That's why I said these two books. His two books like follow the same kind of moral or theme in general, which I really, really, really liked. And that's why, I don't know, that's why I guess I just resonated well with it, because it's very relevant to me, especially. I'm trying to find it. I guess I can't. But it talks about basically leaving the past behind, and you're the author of your own future. So don't, like, dwell on the past, which I think is so important, especially in these both books. So.
Yeah. We remember the past, live in the present, and write the future.
Oh my God, yeah, that was in We Are the Ants. That was, like, really good. But yeah, I felt that was, like, is that not so relevant in this book, At the Edge of the Universe? Because through the whole book, he's kind of dwelling on past, relying on Tommy to come back, and he doesn't realize that that's kind of sinking him as well. So.
Okay. Next question?
Yes.
You're asking it.
Okay, so the next question, it's on the next one, right? Because there's only two. All right, the next question.
You're on question number 3.
Okay, the next question is, wait, what? There's 3 here? Oh, yeah, okay. What role does family play in the book, and how does its role affect the characters in the book? So in At the Edge of the Universe, I think Ozzie's parents, they're divorced. Are they divorcing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're separating, and, like, this is, like, not just parents, but family. The brother is joining the military, so he has to deal with that too. It's, first of all, I think this kind of real family dynamic is very relevant to a lot of people. It contributed to the fact that he was basically alone. There was no one that could actually really listen to him, or people were too, like, caught up with their own lives to kind of, like, hear him out. And that's why no one ever really believed him when he's talking about Tommy, even though he insisted that, like, this guy was, my boyfriend was real. And yeah, that's the family part played a huge role into what you said about, like, emotions and being, this book being sad. Like, honestly, like, the brother leaving was, like, probably, like, the most like, sad part to me. And him talking about his brother in general. Like, he was talking about his relationship with his brother. And it was so sad to hear, because I don't know if, like, I don't know, I haven't experienced it before, but, Like, that's kind of sad. But yeah, in terms of other family relationships, is there any other, like, family dynamic that I missed? Is there something?
Well, I mean, I think with all the characters, you get a sense of their family life. Like with Lua, you have Lua's mom, and the mom just seems really supportive of Lua, and I have Ozzie as well. And
oh yeah, oh my god, I totally forgot. Okay, I read this in the beginning.
Like that part where the mom actually takes Ozzie when the universe has shrunk so much. The mom takes Ozzie in that the way the universe rearranges itself, and she becomes his adoptive mom. And I don't know, she's just super supportive, which is really great. And she's like a single mom, and that's pretty cool. And I guess, you know, with Calvin, his dad as well, like he's really, I guess, you know, it contributes to having really realistic characters and really rounded out, developed characters by seeing their, you know, family dynamic. You know, like with Calvin, okay, yeah, his dad works like 2 jobs, but he's really concerned for his son, and he wants to really help his son, but he doesn't really know how exactly. And I guess, and also with Tommy, we see his parents who he has an abusive father, and you know, see how that has an impact on his life and his mother's life. And yeah, I guess, you know, family does really play a big role in this book, and just, you know, creating the setting. And I think it's really interesting, you know, it's set in a small town, and what happens when things start to go wrong in a small town, I guess.
Yeah, like the book itself, like what I like to think about these books is that there are really no side characters. Everyone's mainly a main character because he goes into everyone so detailed, as detailed as possible. Like even Tommy's mom, we got a lot of interaction with her because of the bookstore, him talking with Ozzie, her talking with Ozzie. But my favorite, yeah, like talking about how the families affect the characters' roles. Lua, who is gender fluid, her mom is very like confident, outspoken, and because of that, you know, she changes gender like based on the day, right? Like
yeah,
change,
like, yeah. And depending on, you know, what Lua decides to wear, that's how Ozzie like determines what pronouns to use, which I think was just really a cool way. You know, you really see how deep their friendship goes, that Ozzie is able to really like distinguish and know. And I don't know, their friendship is just really great. I really love that, seeing that relationship play out in the book as well.
Yeah. Okay. You want to ask the next question? It's on the new post.
Wait, can I talk about Lua and Ozzie a little bit? Because I guess we don't really have a question about their friendship. But, you know, I wanted to say, you know, it's really cool how in the end, it isn't a romantic relationship that Ozzie chooses. It's his best friend. And they, you know, ride off on their summer road trip together. And I just thought that was really cool to see that relationship transforms. And I thought it was like a really honest way to portray a best friend relationship, because they definitely do go through different struggles throughout this book. Like there's that one part where Ozzie and Lua get into this huge fight, and they do like make up, but I just felt that it was really an honest, real relationship they had, because, you know, when you're best friends with someone, you don't always see eye to eye. And I really liked, you know, seeing that dynamic and how they both are really respectful of each other's lives and really are supportive. But, you know, it's hard when they're like, you know, it's the last year of high school and everyone's kind of going separate ways, and just kind of seeing how that the pressure that puts on their relationship plays out. And I really do love how in the end it was Lua that he kind of ends up with, because they go for fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to say anything about that?
I know. So Lua was one of the only people that like actually listened to not Tommy, Ozzie when he was talking about Tommy. Their
Yeah,
relationship
Lua
was
didn't believe them.
who? Calvin?
No, Lua. Lua didn't believe Ozzie
He
that
didn't?
Tommy was
No,
real. No.
but he listened to him.
Calvin.
Oh, Calvin
Calvin
did, yeah.
was. But Lua did not believe that Tommy was real.
Okay, well, Lua was still like, a friend that was there for him when he was going through especially with his family. And yeah, oh my God. All right.
Okay. We can go on to the next question. What does Ozzie mean when he says the universe is shrinking? Do you want to answer that question first, since you asked
Sure.
it?
I mean, when he was actually talking about the universe shrinking, because I read We Are the Ants, and because it was a little bit sci-fi and like I said, a little bit magical realism, because like aliens were actually taking over the planet. I don't think it was metaphorical. I think it was actually happening. So I took it literally. I'm like, okay, the universe is shrinking. Okay, like it's actually getting smaller. So I actually took it like that. So I didn't really think there was like a symbolic reason towards it, and I still don't really know what he meant by that. Maybe it was it's I don't know, it's hard to explain. But like yeah, like when he actually said the universe is shrinking, I actually thought the universe was shrinking. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, I was pretty convinced the universe was
I
shrinking.
was like
I'm just trying to see what that was.
okay, this is like too sad.
The later question is, do you believe, we're just going to combine these. Do
Yeah.
you believe Ozzie and that the universe was shrinking? And yeah, I was pretty convinced. And I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? Well, I mean, the whole thing is like you go into this and it seems like contemporary realistic fiction. And so you're like, is this really happening in this world that's created that, the universe is shrinking and it's like actually real? Or if it's, like something that's in his mind that he's just kind of created, that the world is shrinking, but then that also doesn't make sense because the world rearranges itself. So that's kind of, that's the question that I have at the end, that when I finished this book, I was like, what just happened? Because at the end, we go back and it's just, he goes into the void of the shrinking universe and he's at graduation. And the world is like different. Like Tommy's here, Calvin and him never really had a relationship beyond the roller coaster project, and it's like what was really real. Yeah, I don't know. The universe is shrinking. Maybe it's like a way he interprets his opportunities. And
Like what do you like
what? Like maybe
like his oh, he's being limited. It's like the number of opportunities are kind of disappearing.
yeah. Like, I mean, I know, like, he sees them, but maybe it's just his mind closing in on himself. Because he, like that one part where he sends out his, where he says that he's going to go to UC Boulder.
Yeah.
And then Boulder, like, he was, like, at that time, he was kind of decently accepting that he was going to go off to college. But maybe it's, like, his mind trying to, make him stay in Cloud Lake, making him, like, subconsciously his brain is convincing him that the universe is shrinking so that he can't leave. And I don't know. Or maybe he was just trapped in another universe for the entire year and then he just showed up in the correct one again.
Yeah. So like going into this book, reading the synopsis, you're probably like I like what you said. It's like you're like, okay, this is gonna be contemporary fiction. It's gonna be like a story about like, this guy's boyfriend disappearing. It's probably going to be a mystery, probably going to include some murder or probably someone coming back. And that's what also what stopped me as well, was that by the end of the book, near the end of the book, you see this point where the universe has shrunken so far that people start disappearing. Like his parents were supposedly, they died. and it's kind of like you don't know whether to believe it or not, and I didn't know how to interpret it yet, and so yeah, I guess leave it at that. I mean, if anyone has a better like answer for me or explanation, I would really love to, or a theory, even a theory. Like I haven't even read the fan theories yet, but I think it'd be really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm kind of getting on board with the whole his opportunities, I guess, are shrinking, and he feels like he can't really do anything because I mean his family, everything's like gone. It's just at the end, it's just him in his room alone. Everybody else is gone, and it's he's forced to like finally face, I guess, the problem. I don't know where we're going. Do you want to ask the next question?
Sure. I think this is the question. Okay. Oh wait, did we talk about this? Yeah, we talked about.
Yeah, I combined it with the third question.
Okay. So. How does Ozzie's inability to move on from Tommy contribute to his present day life? This question is very interesting. Throughout the entire book, he has this reliance on this, not dream, but he's totally like hell-bent set on finding Tommy. It contributes first into his relationship with what am I saying? It contributes to his relationship with Calvin because he feels like he can never get close to Calvin, or he feels like he's kind of betraying Tommy by getting close to Calvin or cheating on Tommy. I think that's what he said. And second of all, I feel like there was some like, it wasn't very disclosed, but he had some like unfinished business with Tommy as well, because throughout the entire book we see flashbacks, right? And we see how Tommy's had an abusive relationship with his father. And I think, what's his name? Oh my God, I'm forgetting. I think Ozzie kind of felt bad because Tommy all of a sudden disappeared, but he never had a chance to, I guess, help him or tell on the father, right? Like throughout the entire story, there's this guilt attached to him where he was never able to call the police on Tommy's father or help him in any way. So I thought that was a huge thing. That played a lot of that guilt played into his relationship with other people. He was really like scared to get close to others. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think the whole aspect of no one really believing that Tommy existed, I think that really had an impact on his relationships with other people because he couldn't really trust, like didn't feel like he could really trust anybody because no one believed him, and they just kind of thought he was kind of going crazy or something, and so he kind of starts pulling away from people in some aspects. Like he doesn't really, like, he knows that they don't believe him about Tommy, so he tries not to like bring that up, even though that is like the center of his universe. And I don't know, it just kind of really irritated me, I guess, how hung up he was on Tommy and how he was going to let that whole disappearance like dictate his entire life, where he was like, I cannot leave to Cloud Lake because what if Tommy comes back? And I'm like, what if Tommy comes back and he just calls you and you're at college and then you can just meet up again? Or I mean, just like, I guess in books, like, it's really hard for me to see people who give up their entire lives for other people, and I guess that kind of is in life too, because that's just still not the way that I work. That I just really individual, and yeah, but like, it was kind of frustrating just to see how he really was limiting himself. Like he was like, should I go to college or should I not? Because what if Tommy comes back and things like that, and it's his whole future ahead of him, but he's just gonna stay like here because he's afraid of Tommy not finding him when he gets back. And it was just really frustrating to me reading about that, because like he is a really smart kid, and he, even though his like parents are going through a divorce, he really has like supportive parents in other aspects, and his friends that really want to be there for him, but he's like so focused and so hung up on this one thing that he just kind of neglects the rest of the world and neglects his future. And yeah, that was frustrating. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess in the end we find out that Tommy actually broke up with Ozzie. Like, I think that was, for me, was at least very unexpected. I think that's why it could also contributed to him. He couldn't let him go because I think he was in denial the entire time. He said he wrote down like a bunch of memories of them together, but that was like the only memory that he didn't write down because he was probably in denial of it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, I want to say 100% most likely guilt played into a lot of this. He feels very guilty for not helping Tommy out with his father. And yeah, like as a person, you're like exactly what you said. He couldn't think of himself as Ozzie. He always thought of himself as Tommy and Ozzie, which is why I think this whole book leads us into, I guess, change or like leave what's in the past in the past. Like if he broke up with him, which I think is, I mean, if he broke up with him, then like Ozzie should have just moved on, or, so yeah.
I don't know. It's just you have technology right now, and it's like, you could have gone off to college, because, that was one of his big, like, internal struggles, I guess, is like whether I should go off to college or stay here and wait for Tommy to come back. And it's like, phones exist, emails exist. You could just get into contact if Tommy just reappears. And I don't know, that just really frustrated me. And I think, definitely it is. That's kind of going into our next question of, do you think Tommy made the right decision with what is revealed in the letter, which was, what was revealed was that Tommy broke up with him. And I definitely think, like, this whole thing, because that is like the one memory that he did not remember, it definitely, like, you can definitely infer that that was what set him off on this whole track that happens in the book with the universe shrinking and Tommy disappearing and stuff like that. And I didn't expect it either. I don't even know what I expected when the universe collapses.
Yeah, so I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I think why he perceived it as the universe shrinking is because the universe was trying to tell him that, like, Tommy is not going to come back, so you should move on because he broke up with him, and that's the universe's way of telling him that, change is okay. It's okay to move on. It's okay for him to move on. So maybe that's what they're trying to say when they're saying the universe is shrinking. That's just my idea.
Yeah, like, it makes all this stuff about, like, the universe, like, the way, like, the theories about the universe shrinking, like, it makes sense, and, like, trying to interpret it as, how Ozzie has dealt with it. And then you, like, get to the last chapter, and it's like, the world is completely different from what happened in this book, which took place, like, almost all of the school year happened in the book. And you're like, what exactly even happened? Because even if it was like Ozzie and he, like, in his mind, this was the way he was interpreting what was going on in his life, it just, like, doesn't make enough sense. Unless he's, like, completely hallucinating the majority of conversations he has with people. Because, like, like, there's a part where he's asking, maybe his therapist, he always asks his therapist about the world shrinking, the universe shrinking, like, what is the sun? And they're like, what is even the sun? I don't know, like, he asks, about stars or the sun or, like, the moon. They're like, what is the sun? What is the stars? What is the moon? And so if that was, like, his way of interpreting life, like, how does that make sense with what happens in the end? Especially, like, in the end, he and Calvin never even had a romantic relationship. And I don't know. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you remind me of the therapist. That was like, oh my god, that was, like, kind of funny though. Like, he kept, like like purposely like trying to change his therapist all the time. And once again, I think it's because he was in denial, also because he knew that no one would believe him, and he's kind of got tired of talking about the same things and no one believing him. So he really bottled up all his feelings and was like talking to, kind of thinking about it within himself and not really sharing it, which I think maybe contributed to like, you know, he kind of like his mental state. He was kind of like going crazy with all these, like the belief of the universe shrinking and everything happening, and also his family life, like we said. So that was really interesting to read. Okay, I'm gonna go into the next question. Where's the next question? So the next question is, I think we asked this one.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it.
Okay, so what did you think of the ending? Did you expect it? Did you like it? So in the end, I really like that part with the last, where like the final part where the universe is shrinking, where like you said, his life is kind of like altered. His parents are supposedly died, and he's living with Lua now, as like a half brother, or they've been like siblings almost. Basically everything's different, and I think when does Calvin disappear in that one, right?
Calvin's the last one to go. He walks out, like he swims out.
Yeah, that was, I swear, this book is like magical realism, and it's not even pitched as magical realism. I feel like it is. But that was really interesting to read, because it was, so basically throughout the book, he does actually kind of go into these altered universes where his life is completely different from what it was before. I thought that was really interesting. It showed us different perspectives of his life, different ways he could have been living as the universe is shrinking. And did I expect it? No, I did not expect. Never thought that Tommy would break up with Ozzie. I felt like the relationship was so pure, and it was so beautiful. I don't know. That kind of was really sad to me, because he did break up with him, and this entire story is kind of surrounding that, now that you think of it.
I don't know. I guess there are some parts where I liked his relationship with Tommy, but there are also parts where I'm like, this is not a healthy relationship. And I don't know, like, who I shipped at the end, maybe I'll say I shipped Calvin. But, just Tommy and Ozzie, I felt like, I don't know. I just didn't really like them together, because I guess they were just so dependent on each other, and Ozzie was just willing to give up his entire life, which is just not something that I personally am a fan of in general. So like that made me just hesitant to really latch on to their relationship. And and like, how Tommy was always, saying how he doesn't deserve Ozzie and things like that. And it was tragic. And at the same time, it's like, he wasn't really listening to Ozzie, because like Ozzie is willing to really give up everything for him, and then Tommy's always like, I don't deserve it. And I guess it doesn't seem like they're really equals in the relationship. I mean, not saying that one of them is like less than the other, but there's aspects of both characters, like what they want from both, what Ozzie wants from Tommy and what Tommy wants from Ozzie. Like, it's not just like a really equal exchange. And I don't know where I'm going with this.
No, yeah, I understand. I mean, I saw the relationship as they weren't really helping each other like get better. They were both dealing with both like really bad issues at home, family issues. I don't know, they didn't really share stuff with each other. Like, Tommy never liked talking about, his father. And same with, like, I don't know, we never really heard them talk about like their family. I think it was because, maybe Ozzie was too consumed in his love with Tommy. He was too blinded by it that he didn't realize that, when he broke up with him, he had no idea what to do. He was just really kind of confused on what to do. Yeah.
Going back to the question about the ending, I mean, I guess I asked this question, I was more referring to, I guess, like, the infinity and more part of it, where we, like, end up at graduation, and I guess, you know, that's the whole thing, like, how the universe is no longer shrinking. I guess it was not the ending I expected. I don't even know what I expected.
Yeah, I don't know what I expected either. It just wasn't, it was very out of the ordinary. I didn't even, I didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't, I don't even know what I expected, because it's like, the world is shrinking, so what is gonna happen? Like, at the end, I was like, we have how many pages left, and how much left of the universe is there? And I was like, how is this gonna play? I guess I felt like we'd eventually find Tommy and see what happened with him. And, you know, going into it, I was pretty convinced that the universe was shrinking. I'm like, okay, this is, you know, how this world is constructed, and it's just going to be shrinking. And yeah, so I kind of like accepted it. And then, like, we got to the end, it's like, just kidding. And that whole thing, I guess, is that, you know, we spend this entire year with Ozzie as the world is changing, and then we come straight into graduation, and all of his relationships with everyone is like different, but then some parts are the same as what happened. And I don't know, and I guess I expected him to end up with someone in a romantic relationship, and then he doesn't, which is great as well.
Yeah, I like that. It was very like this whole book was him being dependent on Tommy, and then he finds Calvin, and then he starts, you know, latching on to him, and in the end, he's kind of like it's a kind of like a self-discovery book. He discovers that he wants to find out what else there is for him, and because through this entire book, he's first of all he's thinking about Tommy, finding Tommy, but he realizes everyone else around him is kind of crashing, and so does he want to, like, you know, betray his final goal of finding Tommy to help his friends? And I thought it is a really interesting concept. I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, everything just like goes wrong in this book. I guess that's the sad part, Kim. And the sad part, well, I mean, because, like, you know, Dustin, his parents made a bad investment, so, like, he's been working his entire life to get into, like, an Ivy League school, and his parents, like, blew all their money. So he couldn't go anymore, and, like, Lua got her fingers broken by Trent.
Oh my god, yeah, that was, oh my god.
That made me really mad, and Lua was about to go on tour, and now has broken fingers, and that just, you know, what more can go wrong? And what goes wrong is Rennie gets hurt, like, severely in training, which is just really sad, because he's like, I guess that's the saddest part for me was when he got hurt, because, you know, he finally found his place as a soldier, Rennie, and another kid was jealous of him, and now he's permanently paralyzed, and that is just tragic. Yeah. And then, you know, like, his whole parents divorcing, and, like, when he finds out that his dad was cheating on his mom, and, like, and everything that happens with Calvin, which was extremely, like, sad as well. Yeah, it was a lot of sadness. I was not expecting.
Yeah. So first of all, I wanted to point out, I don't know if you noticed this, Belinda, but there was actually a reference to We Are the Ants in this book.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw it? When I read it, I started cracking up. Okay, it was like, so basically in the book, he goes to this book, he works at this bookstore, and they're talking about this book about aliens and ants, and in the actual, like, story in the book on the pages, and I was like, oh my god. And apparently there's also a reference to his other book, which is The 5 Stages of Andrew Brawley, and the characters actually make an appearance. So I can't wait to read that, but it was so funny.
Yeah, I love how he did that. I kind of want to do that with my own writing now.
Please, like, I love that. I love when authors do that. It just shows how, like, much they understand their own writing. It's hilarious. What else? First, and another thing is Ozzie's. I really loved Ozzie as a character. I just thought, first of all, he's very sharp tongue. He's like a really like broad sense of humor. And I liked him because he resonated with me, but also he was very similar to Henry in Where Are the Ants. So, and I loved Henry. So, like seriously, if you read the 2 books, they're like pretty much the same exact character.
That's funny. I don't know. I guess I was just a little too frustrated with Ozzie and his whole obsession with finding Tommy, and that was just hard for me to really like latch onto a character like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Should we go to the last question?
Oh, sure.
Okay. What do you really think happened in the past year of Ozzie's life?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know because I guess I've been talking about this entire video. Is like, you know, how we get to the end where it's like infinity and more, and the entire universe is like the whole everything that happened like played out slightly different than what we've been reading, and so and there's no real explanation. He doesn't really give us a real explanation of what happened. He's just kind of like showed up and tells us what really happened, I guess. So I'm like, maybe he really did go through into a different universe where it was strange. Because, like, you know, while we were reading the book, it's like everyone else is pretty convinced they're living in that
A normal way.
iteration of the universe. And so if that was like a reality and it was just like Ozzie's reinterpretation of reality, like that, how does that make sense that everyone else like doesn't, that like everyone else is living in this reality with the size of the universe being whatever it is? I don't know. So I'm like, maybe he did spend the past year in like an alternate universe instead of like Tommy, which is actually kind of like ironic because he's like, Tommy's in an alternate universe, but what if Ozzie was?
Yeah, like I really don't understand. I think it was much more, it was like kind of referring, like the whole universe drinking was referring to what was actually happening like in his own mind. That's what I felt. But yeah, like that's like this book, just in general, since we're wrapping up like thoughts and stuff, I feel like this book has so many aspects of diversity. Like it's kind of like even hard to kind of pick out all of them. Like, of course, there's the Tommy and Ozzie are gay. There's also like depression, mental illness, like abuse, like sexual assault, like all those like overarching topics that are like super relevant and super real, and like things that we don't like to talk about. And I don't know, I like that. I think also Calvin like was bisexual, because he did date like, you know, girls in the beginning. Or we're not really like for sure like 100%. But I really liked just the whole like naturalness of it. There was just so many diverse aspects. It was kind of like everything all over the place, but it wasn't overwhelming. Like you could understand the story, and the story still worked well. That's what I really love about his books, because also in his other book, We Are the Ants. But yeah, that was mainly. Is that our last question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my question is, who is the character that you related to or resonated with the most?
I don't know. I feel like there wasn't really one character that I really related to. I feel like there were like, you know, aspects of some characters, but I didn't really see myself reflected in this book, and maybe that is why this book was not a love book for me. Maybe, I mean, I liked it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but it wasn't, you know, a book that I really, really loved, because I guess not.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced a lot of the things that these people are going through. And I don't know. So that's my answer.
It's
what about you?
It's really hard. Like you said, like this book, it was kind of hard also to relate. But I don't know. Once I read like about Calvin, and he was sexually assaulted, and that's what kind of spiraled into his it kind of affected his mental health in general. He began like self-harming. I don't know. I haven't had experience with sexual assault, fortunately, but like I've had experience with self-harm and kind of like that, like bottling up his feelings because he didn't want to tell anyone about him being sexual assaulted. And I think he didn't tell Ozzie, right? Like Ozzie had to kind of fish it out of him. And I think what I resonated with him most is because I've kind of gone through the similar, feelings and kind of stages, and also that just helplessness where you don't want to tell anyone, and that is kind of what's making your mental health deteriorate. I just think his character was, for me, like my favorite and the one that I related to the most. But yeah, just in general, all these characters, even though you could relate to them, you I can't say that word. Empathize.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I think they're
empathize.
like all really great characters, and that they show like they're really real, and they're going through really real situations, and I really like that. It just wasn't really relatable to my life.
To me, yeah.
But this is why we read books. We read books so we can see into the lives of other people and see what they go through, and that creates more empathy and more understanding, which is fantastic. I think it's great that Shaun David Hutchinson does not shy away from things like that. Like he's like sexual assault, about rape, about depression, mental illness, things like that. Like he does not shy away from it, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, like going back to mental health, if there's an author's note in the back, and I really liked what he said for this book, because this whole entire book is talking about, I guess, change and confrontation. Like a lot of these characters who were going through things, like Ozzie, who was going through, I guess, the loss of his boyfriend, his parents divorcing, and then his brother going to the military, and he never wanted to talk about anyone. He went through all these therapists, and he never really wanted to open up. And there was, of course, Calvin, who wouldn't open up. And a lot of these characters were literally bottling up their feelings. Like they weren't able to talk about it. But in the back it says, I hope Calvin's story and Ozzie's story and Jesse and Henry's and Diego's story from We Are the Ants will serve not as an instruction manual for how to deal with depression, but rather as maps of how not to deal with it. I thought that was interesting. And he kind of goes into saying if he were to write a book about how to deal with mental illness, it would be to just talk to someone. That's kind of the message that he displays. I love it so much.
Well, I'm glad you really love it. Yeah. So do you have any other things you want to say? Any other questions you want to ask?
I mean, if you made it this far, you probably already read the book, but if you haven't, we just spoiled you for everything that is nice and that is entertaining in this book. But if you still haven't read it, just read it anyway. I'm definitely gonna be pushing this on social media, because like all our books that we choose it for a certain reason. And we talk about it for a certain reason.
Yeah, I'm just double checking that there aren't any random questions that people have asked us elsewhere.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah. So I'm really glad we read this book, and I'm really looking forward to reading his other book, We Are the Ants, and I feel like I might end up liking that one more because I got spoiled for something my God. And so, yeah, I don't know. I am really happy with this, and I'm glad we picked it because there's a lot of things to definitely discuss. I mean, there's a lot of things to discuss, but also it's I don't know. It's hard to talk about. But the best you can do is try, because if you don't talk about it, then no one will know. Yeah.
All right.
Hard to come up with for this.
What?
It was hard to come up with questions for this book.
It kind of was. I don't know. I think our questions were pretty general, but then we kind of expanded when we were discussing. That's why I like to discuss. But in general, coming up with questions, I was just like, what questions am I supposed to ask? Yeah. It was pretty hard. But yeah, I'm super excited about our next book. I do feel bad, though, because you already read it.
That's okay. I'm not going to be here for a month. So I'm glad we're doing this, because I'm not taking it with me. So, yeah, again, this is our next book, When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandia Menon. super excited to discuss this with you guys. Like, hopefully I can come up with questions because I did read this, like, I feel like in the beginning of June and probably have forgotten all of it already. I just gotta review my notes. But there are a lot of great things and it's super cute and I hope you all enjoy it as much as I did.
Yeah, I will be reading it for the first time, so it's really hyped. Like on Twitter, a lot of people are loving it. Like they're also saying the romance is really cute, so I am all down for that right now. I think we need something bright and fluffy to light up this very dark and almost sad mood. So, yeah.
Yay. Okay. Is that it then? Do we have anything else we want to say?
I think that's good.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm going to be on vacation for the next month, so we'll see how active I am with social media and everything, but I am excited about this. I will leave details about the book below, and yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you pick up this book. I hope you pick up this book if you are here and you have not read it and you just listen to us spoil everything for you. I hope you still read it. And, try out his other book. We Are the Ants and the other books he's written. He's like an Owen Voices author, right?
Yeah, he's gone through depression and self-harm. So, oh yeah, also like if you have read When Diplomat Rishi, like we don't have strict like reading dates. So if you want to discuss like either the live show or through the discussion questions on Instagram, please do. We love just conversing about books. So yeah, that'd be really great.
Okay. So I think that is it. We're just gonna say bye now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Here's Alex. Bye.